Hey, Mystic Michaela, spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today we're talking about all things mediumship. I'm going to give some mediumship history, some background. I'm going to tell you how I do mediumship personally. And then we have a really special interview with a woman named Jade who had a loss of her baby. So a little trigger warning there. That's the last 25 minutes. I'm going to be doing a mediumship reading for her. But hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
What's going on?
So we're back.
We're back.
From our Casadega, Florida trip.
Yes.
Which was very interesting.
It was.
The episode, I guess we've been getting a lot of comments about it being, spirit haunted, whatever.
It's crazy. Okay, so whenever we talked to Emily, the house owner, there was I felt so much energy. And when we were recording, I wondered too, I'm like, is this going to pop up? But listen, we recorded, I always listen to it back before I send it to editing and stuff. And there was nothing. It was clear. And then everybody's been telling me there's this part, go listen to this part. I did this happen, weird things, spirit. Every time she was talking too.
Yeah, something came up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was cool.
That's unbelievable. But after coming back from the trip, and there was we heard a lot of stories from people, about mediumship and seances and tables flying,
spiritualism.
Yeah, spiritualism,
which is it's a religion. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the truth, I didn't know what they were talking about at the time. Mm-hmm. So, like anything, I like to do a little homework and research.
You do.
And look into it. So, the first thing I started with just what is spiritualism? Mm-hmm. And basically, it's just a belief system where you believe that people communicate with the dead, the deceased, and it's usually through a medium, okay, such as yourself, because you're a medium.
Right.
That's a very simplistic definition. Obviously spiritualists will probably go into it in much more greater detail than I can. But that's basically the gist of it. And in essence, mediumship is the fundamental, the pillar of the movement.
Okay.
Okay. So when you think of mediums, usually there's a training involved.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I guess. You're not formally trained. You never went to classes.
No.
But usually there's a training period of about 5 to 8 years.
Okay. Yes. In spiritualism. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that you do. This training period sometimes is called sitting in circle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No, it's weird because we grew up near Lilydale, New York, and that's a spiritualist community. It's we were talking about, it's a sister city to Casadega. And it was founded on spiritualism, which is an actual religion. So the things you're talking about sound familiar to me from living near there and just kind of understanding some of it.
Yeah.
So this is interesting.
Don't get it confused with the circle of consent.
Oh, goodness.
This is sitting in sitting in circle, we learned a few weeks ago.
Yes.
But really, one of the things that need to be done, I guess, is there needs to be a recognizable evidence. Mm-hmm. That is their big thing. Now, they can come in a couple of ways. Sometimes a medium could do it through verbal. Okay, so a medium would kind of get up there and say, and I'm sure everyone's heard something like this before, may the person with the red shirt stand up, I have a message for you. That's kind of a very simplistic physical thing. And then, of course, the person would say, okay, yes, that's me. What's the message? And
they're wearing a red shirt or?
Yes, well, Either or. They can do it either way. They can do it where, I have a message for a person in a red shirt. Okay. Or they can say, someone's coming through that has a red shirt on.
Yeah,
something like that.
Like that, okay.
Right. And the other way would be a actual physical mediumship, meaning the moving of a table.
Yes.
The levitating of a human or something. Evidence. So that is what they're looking for. They truly are looking for that in spiritualism.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why seances were a big deal.
Yes.
Proof. They wanted proof.
They wanted the proof. And again, this has been throughout history. You can go back to the ancient Greeks and the oracles.
Oh,
that
really?
They used to, the Romans, anybody. But really, the mediumship that we're talking about came about roughly, or got popular, I should say, in the 1800s.
Okay.
So it came from across Europe.
Yes.
Went to England,
yeah.
Became very big in England, and then, of course, from England it went to the United States.
Okay.
So if you were living in the 1800s, Victorian historians, Victorian age, and things like that, the Ouija board came about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Now, the Ouija board, everyone probably does that at I
hate that thing.
No, I don't do it, but
That's bad.
you did it. at a slumber party, with your girlfriends or whatever.
Yeah, I did a
you were
whole
a kid.
rant about this in one of my episodes. Yeah,
Yeah.
how not to do that. Don't do it.
But that was actually an upper class, wealthy game that they used to do it. That's how it started out. Yeah, the Ouija board, because of the letters, automated writing, which is a technique of a medium.
Okay.
So that's how that came about. The seance became huge during this time period.
That's cool.
And it attracted actually a lot of scientists of the period, because the scientists were trying to figure out, probably a lot of green aura guys.
Yeah, totally.
The green aura women were coming like,
the
wait
green
a
Victorians
second.
were like, hey, wait a second. Show me proof.
Right, show me the proof. So
much like today, I think.
Yeah.
Things don't change.
Right. So the green aura people got involved with this.
Yeah.
And, they were looking for the actual physical proof of these mediums, which is, I find, very interesting. So basically it's kind of, you can study this for years, but I broke it down into two types.
I feel like I'm being taught to.
Sorry.
No, I love it.
Is it too much teaching?
No, I love it.
Maybe I'm missing my teaching days.
You are. Like, I feel like a student.
Oh.
I'm into it. Keep going.
This is like a different side of
Yeah,
Scotty
like
that we don't usually see.
This is teaching Scotty.
This is teaching Scotty, people.
Professor Scotty.
So
Professor Scotty, continue.
Yeah. And again, I just want to reiterate that this is, people study this for their entire lives. I'm just kind of giving a brief overview because we only have a certain amount of time.
You're cliff noting it.
Yeah,
yep.
cliff noting it for you.
Yep.
All right, so I broke it down into two: mental mediumship and physical mediumship.
Okay.
So mental, that's kind of what you do, and other people do. There's like cold readings. Okay, so a lot of mediums get in trouble for cold readings.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
What's a cold reading? You probably obviously know this.
Oh yeah,
but you're looking for high probability odds.
Like somebody's wearing a wedding ring. Are you married?
Right.
Okay. So somebody has a nice handbag. I feel like you have a lot of money. Yeah, like that kind of thing.
Right. I just bought you that Dolce Gabbana shirt, Gabbana, whatever shirt.
Did you?
Yeah, from the one from Beverly Hills Housewives.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And you were out, and then someone came up to you, a medium came up to you and said, "Oh, you must be a wealthy woman."
You must be a wealthy woman.
Like, they didn't know.
Like,
I just
how'd
bought
you know?
it as a joke, and I had a mortgage, get a second mortgage. But I was just kidding. But
so yes, cold reading.
Yeah, and I looked into it, and a lot of mediums. A lot of times there's a lot of fake mediums, and they actually later on they confess. And they tell how they did. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and a lot of them said what they would do for cold readings is socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
So people of certain socioeconomic backgrounds have different issues.
Okay.
So they would focus on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I guess someone that was living a lower income level, maybe. They would focus on different problems and things that person
that
would
are
have.
Statistically an issue for that socioeconomic group. Okay.
Yeah. So you're kind of playing the odds game.
Oh, that's a lot of stereotyping and stuff.
It's a lot of stereotyping and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's some ways that they would do it.
All right. That makes sense.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, there was a couple of other ones that I highlighted. Inspirational speaking. This is you tell me this all the time happens to you. So this is where like spirit actually goes through you and gives you messages that, things that you would never say.
Yes.
And that I know happens to you. Like you'll come back from your bike ride and you'll be like, I just came up with this incredible idea. For a post, this message came through me.
Yeah, they channel through it all the time.
Yeah, and it wasn't even you.
No.
It was spirit.
Yeah.
All the time, you'll say things and I'll be like, what are you talking about? And you're like, that wasn't me. That was spirit.
Yeah, but I'll try to quote them. I'll be like, that's not me, that's spirit. But here's, the
and then
idea.
you write it down really quickly.
I have to write it down, otherwise it goes away because it's not mine. Yes.
Then there's automated writing. Or is it automatic? Automatic writing. I apologize.
Okay.
And this is basic. And this is with your children's book series that we hopefully one day will get out there.
Yes.
You said you wrote them very quickly.
I wrote 3 children's books in like a half hour, but I couldn't stop writing. It was a divine image that just came to life.
Right.
I need an illustrator. Help
calling
me.
all illustrator.
Help me. Somebody.
Calling all publishing houses.
Yeah.
Calling all.
I wish they could like automated artist me because I can't draw. If I could draw, I could get them out. That's my only issue.
And I can't help you there. Yeah.
All right, go on.
But anyway. Okay, so those are some types of mental mediumship, which people do. But then there's also the physical mediumship, and this is the one I was really kind of more interested in for today.
Yes.
This would be your objects moving, tables lifting, loud noises, doors shutting, and this is where people, some people believe it and some people don't.
Right.
And it was, I guess you can decide for yourselves. But this became very, very popular in the 1800s.
And that's like a religious practice. You go to a
Yes.
seance and the table lifts and like they put things around the room that are supposed to levitate or play on their own. Yeah. That's, people say that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
But here, Red Aura Scotty is here to show you that it isn't always what it seems.
Well, yeah.
Okay. So the popular thing was the seance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One group was the Fox sisters, Kate and Margaret. In the 1850s, they became very famous. They were like the Long Island medium
Oh, really?
of that time period. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they became very famous mediums, and they gave the movement extreme popularity.
Mm-hmm.
And what they would do is they would ask a question. So, like, let's say, will you find love?
Okay.
And then they would have a series of knocks. So, like, knock 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, so, okay. Spirit knock.
Spirit knocks or spirit noises. So basically, they would ask, like, you would, they would be there. They would be the medium. You'd come to them. They'd ask a question, and then a series of knocks would happen. And
Like while you're just sitting there.
While you're just sitting there.
Okay.
And this went on for a long time. They would go on the road, and they would go to people's homes.
Wow.
And a lot of upper class people were into this at the time. They saw it as like a show or an evening of entertainment,
like anything. Yeah, like a psychic party. Yeah, absolutely.
But then, eventually years later, they said, you know what, we were frauds.
Really?
Yes.
How'd they do it?
So there's a couple of things they were doing. One, they would take an apple and tie it to a string. And the other thing I should mention is that when these things happen, it's in very, very dark rooms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they never do it in the light of day. They would always do it. You ever see like a seance on TV, like Beetlejuice? It's always at night.
But that would be back then.
Right.
That was always dark.
It was always dark.
Okay.
Very, very dark. So it was hard to see. Very dim lighting. So they would have like an apple tied to a string that one of the sisters would move.
And they were wearing skirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of the other one was able to like figure out a way with her toe. She like trained her big toe
Stop it.
to actually tap without anyone really being able to see it.
How loud was her toe? I have questions.
I do too. I mean,
what kind of toe was this? Okay.
Like a Bigfoot toe. I don't know. But eventually, they both came out. And the other thing is like, there were people at the time that were, of course, trying to disprove them. Houdini was a big person who was always trying to disprove.
Right.
Yeah. But they confess.
Okay.
Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously very close to Lilydale. The Davenport brothers thought they'd get in on the game. So kind of like the Fox sisters were the ones that kind of like started the rodeo. And they claimed that they had this spirit guide, Johnny King.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, I just got Phoebe, who we fight with all the time.
Yeah, Phoebe.
Me and Phoebe are fighting right now.
But they had Johnny King.
Yeah. Okay. And they would be very dark settings. Mm-hmm. They would put like items on strings and like, they would fly across like you'd think they were flying across the room.
I'm just interested in how nobody saw them setting this up or...
Well, think about it like today. I kind of thought of it like your magicians of today.
Okay.
Like a David Blaine.
Illusionist.
Or what's that? Who was that famous
That's true.
illusionist? Like Penn and Teller.
Yeah. David Blaine.
David Copperfield.
Okay, they're illusionists. Okay.
These were like your illusionists
so they would
of the 1800s.
Have contraptions that were kind of ingenious.
Yes.
Okay.
They would have contraptions that were ingenious.
Mm.
Table tipping was another big one.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Get the table to move.
This is all over Lilydale.
Yeah. Yeah. Or try to get it to lift a little bit.
Yeah, they had like pedestals on tables and things. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, they all come clean with these eventually.
Really?
And it's like a lot of strings. Some would have like, I don't know how they put like kind of a knife in between the table and like the leg of the table and the top of the table, and they can kind of just lift it. Remember, it's very dark.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard to see. And
they're good at sleight of hand.
And they're very good at sleight of hand.
But people took this as proof. Like...
Yes.
Okay.
But then what would happen would be guys like Houdini would go around proving like...
Well, he didn't like that.
They didn't like that.
Yeah.
So if you got big, like, if you got Mystic Michaela big...
Yeah.
Or Long Island Medium big...
Yeah.
Houdini's coming to see you.
Yeah.
He would travel all over the country
He loved to disprove mediums.
To disprove the mediums,
yes.
right? And he did. And the thing is, he was.
Yeah.
He did it.
Yeah.
So he, and a lot of people like were fooled by it, but not Houdini.
Right.
So like, they would have like councils, and they would have the, let's say the sisters or these Davenport brothers.
Yeah.
They would go before a council, and they were able to fool them.
Wow.
Except for
Well, Houdini. He understood tricks. Yeah,
Right.
he understood illusionists
Yep.
and stuff like that. That's interesting.
Yeah. This other medium, Eva, claimed that she can conjure up ectoplasm.
What's that?
Ectoplasm is like, I guess in the spiritual world, like if you're a medium, it's like a substance that it comes out of your body.
Okay.
Like I always think of like Ghostbusters, like
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Like the green residue.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she claimed that, she could conjure up ectoplasm of the spirits of the dead.
Yeah.
And she would do this.
Yeah.
And then, Houdini, of course, didn't believe her. And it was found out later on that she was chewing up magazines, eating them,
Ew.
and then regurgitating it.
That's
and it looked like something disgusting.
But here's my thing.
Yeah.
Like, as a historian, I feel like people are the same intelligence as today as they were 100 years ago. Like, truly, So, like, when somebody's puking up magazine pieces, how does that fool people? I don't care. Like, people are smart. People can see. Like, what is that? Like,
I don't know. I mean, again, a lot of these were held in dark circumstances. If you're, truly.
Are you getting into like the photos and stuff like that?
No, it was with the photos.
So, like in Lilydale, they have a museum. And we should have checked it out in Casadega. They had one, but everything closed at like 5 p.m.
5
on a
o'clock.
Saturday, so we couldn't go see it.
On every day.
Yeah. Well, in Lilydale, they have a museum, and if you go in, they have all these Victorian-era photos.
Okay.
And of the day, it was like very photoshopped, they didn't have Photoshop. So people were probably like, whoa, because it was just super. But now you look at it, you're like, okay, obviously somebody just played with the film. Like, it was just superimposed like a child's face on somebody else's picture, this or that. And that was counted as proof. And things. And so, all these things, they keep them, even though it kind of is, I guess, residue from when their religion was more fraudulent or something. But they still practice. Like, they still have seances, and they still do healings, and they still do the trained mediumships and stuff like that. That still goes on. It's a very active
Oh, yeah, there were signs
religion.
all over Casadega for that kind of
seances,
stuff.
seance at 7 p.m. and this and that. And I find it interesting, like, I don't know.
No. I mean, this is, like I said, it's been going on from the beginning of time. You can go back all the way to the Greeks and probably before that.
Wow.
It just that, some are real, and I'm sure, look, I've seen things with my own eyes. I've seen statues, fly across a table.
Yep.
We saw, a glass blow up in midair.
Yeah.
I
saw a door move on its own in the Ann Stevens house. Like, things move for sure.
So, I've seen a lot. So, and I know that there was no Fox sisters there moving it.
Yeah.
There was no one in the room.
No, you were alone.
Yeah, it was alone. So, it's hard. I mean, some people probably just believe it with everything they have. Me, I'm always playing a little bit of the skeptic.
Yeah. I think it's a balance.
Yeah, but
that's interesting.
But people, throughout time have tried to make a buck off this.
Yes, that's true.
And, even the Davenport brothers admitted that, after the Fox sisters, they saw this as a way to make money. Because again, like I said, a lot of people confessed after.
I feel like with mediumship, what I've noticed is, watching TV and then doing it myself, and like growing up in a family where it's just, normalized or whatever. I think like when somebody on the other side talks to you, or, it's not so sensational. It's just like having a conversation with grandma or whatever, and maybe that's not good enough for TV or good enough for a show or good enough for like a party. And so I feel like over time, to make it more interesting, they add to it. They add things, or it has to be like, even on these TV shows and I love watching like shows about psychics and I love watching them, but sometimes it's like, can't they just get a normal story? It's something always like over the top, because I feel like as an audience, we'd be bored if it was just regular stuff.
Right.
And
the other thing is they do have what's called editing.
I know.
So, they edit it 10 times probably before they send it out. So, yes, I mean, sometimes I think it probably does give like a false interpretation of what a reading is.
Yes. Yeah.
To see it on TV, because you're looking at, like anything with reality TV, you're looking at little clips of something that
or you
they
pick
mash
somebody
together.
who's like, somebody has a shtick, they're a
exactly.
little bit like over the top about it, or they have good delivery. But I can see where people want to be more entertained by it, which is interesch like with tables lifting and things flying across the room and toes are knocking. I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's probably the message in real mediumship. It's just you delivering. You're the medium. You're the in between.
You're just
between
the phone.
person. Yeah, you're the phone that someone has passed, and then the person that wants to hear that. So if Aunt Susie just wants to tell you that you're doing well, and just make sure you turn the stove off at night, and get you that message so you don't pass. That's for you.
Yeah,
and that's not really entertaining to anybody else.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it is.
Yeah, sometimes.
But most of the time it means something to you, and other people will be like, oh.
Right.
Like, okay. So that's okay. Thank you, Professor Scotty.
Oh, you're welcome. I know you guys saw a little bit of a different side of me today, but I figured.
Very intellectual.
Thank you.
I really, really enjoyed that. Okay. Then I wanted to talk about, before we get to our reading, I wanted to talk about how mediumship works for me. So we talked about mediumship. We talked about physical mediumship. Scott went through his teachings today, which was pretty interesting. But now this is just, people ask me a lot, like, how does it work for you, or what does this look like? So what is mediumship for me? So basically, people on the other side die and they want to communicate. That's a big thing. They want to say hello. They want to get your attention. They want to give you a message. How they come into me, I'm an empathic medium. So I get messages through feelings first, through my empathy. That's the first place it happens. So today, for example, I had a young woman who lost her dad, and her dad came through, and I felt he was stubborn and he didn't want to talk about the past. And he said, Daddy loves you, and that's all you need to know. Done, period. And I said, and that's it. He doesn't want to talk about the past. He just needs you to know that and move on. And I guess they had a very tumultuous relationship, and he never would talk about it in life. They never went through like their issues from the past. And that's the thing. Like, you don't really change a lot of times, like your personality on the other side. So I get people on the other side coming through as they were. So they come to me with their emotions and their personalities and their vibes. And sometimes that affects how good a reading is. If somebody's a better talker, or somebody's just kind of more strong or forceful or whatever, they'll give me more stuff. If somebody was kind of more quiet or demure, just like in life, maybe they weren't the center of attention, they're not giving me as much stuff. So it depends with that. But I'll tell you, they all come through in one way. It's love. And that sounds really cliche, but love is something, it's God's vibration. So it's a wavelength that we exist on here, and then we also exist on the other side with. So it's the shared connection. So when you feel love for somebody or something, even if it wasn't perfect, you just have that love of the experience with that person's energy or whatever, or their memories or their past. They come in on that wavelength. That's a door that opens. So love is how we all connect. It's how we connect to that which is greater than us, and it's how we connect to our loved ones on the other side. And they always come through love. How do I perceive them? I get this a lot. Do you see them physically? Do you see them with their mindset? Like, how do I perceive them? So I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen somebody physically, who's passed, like somebody who I've actually seen that they look like they're standing in front of me in the flesh. Normally, I see them in my third eye, which for me is different than my imagination or different than my thoughts. I can separate the two at this point, but I see them very clear in my third, and they drop in there. So if you imagine, I have like this little separate compartment in my brain, I guess, where the things that drop in there aren't mine. And that's what I use that part when I do a reading, and I can feel that part, and I try to shut it down when I'm not doing a reading, but it opens right up when I'm doing a reading, or sometimes if a spirit's bugging me when I'm not doing a reading. But and it looks like just a slideshow in my brain. So I'll see something. So I'll see their bodies, I'll see their faces, I'll see them doing things, I'll see images, I'll see visuals, whatever they drop in there. It's like a Dropbox, like Google Dropbox. And whatever drops in there, I see it. So that's how I perceive them normally. What do they do to get my attention or anybody's attention? They tend to, sometimes they do touch. I had a reading the other day, and this family lost their dog. In a very sad way, they lost their dog. It was an accident. It was nobody's fault, but everybody felt guilty about it. A lot of guilt, okay? And this dog died, and so I'm looking at the picture of the dog, and I was saying, the dog just wants your attention. The dog wants you to pay. See, they did think about the dog all the time, but with sadness and guilt. But and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That's not the best energy to bring when you want to connect with somebody, because guilt is kind of like a shut door. You have to kind of open up a little bit. So the dog, they don't talk, but was giving me this energy like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. All of a sudden, something bit my foot. Now I'm upstairs on the phone. No, I don't have a dog. My cats weren't in the room. I scream. I'm like, oh, because I'm on the phone. I'm like, something just bit my foot. I'm like, your dog just bit my foot. And I literally felt my foot get bit. And the woman said, oh my God, that's how she used to get our attention. She used to bite our feet when she wanted us to pay attention to her. I'm like, okay, so she was just giving me the message, like, please pay attention to me, get rid of the guilt. And then she bit me, which was her dog way of communicating. So sometimes they do touch me. Like sometimes, like I almost got off the phone the other day before channeling someone's grandma, and she like stuck her hand right on my shoulder, like boom. I'm like, oh, grandma does not want me to go yet. Sometimes they will touch me, and sometimes they'll touch you too. It's not scary. It's just kind of surprising. So sometimes they do touch. Other times they just use my Dropbox. So like when I do a mediumship reading, so like I'll be talking about something else. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, oh, hey, hang on. What is this? Like, I have to explain this to you. It's just all of a sudden I get an image and I can't move on until I bring it up to you. It's like an OCD thought. Someone's personality does affect how they come in. So like I said, if they were quiet, they're a little quieter, a little more gentle. That's when I need a picture better. I connect with pictures. When I see someone's eyes, it's easier for me to connect with them on the other side. But their personality does depend how they come in. I want to mention real quick here with like, the only time it's harder to get a person who passed is if it's a suicide. And I think I've talked about this before. People who truly commit suicide obviously are not in their right states. And a lot of time it takes them longer to come through because they have a hard time connecting to their human self, because obviously their life was very difficult here in their own brains for whatever reason. So those, I can kind of usually tell when somebody sends me a picture of somebody who helped themselves pass or caused their own passing, they come through barely, because they don't want to come through. And that's how I know it was a suicide. When they're not, everybody else comes through pretty strong. But that's a way that somebody can show me by their reluctance to come in. Then I can tell it was something they did to themselves. But and sometimes when somebody comes in like really, really strong, like me, and I know it's because they passed without closure. So there's different ways people come in, and it can signal to me, because it's all emotion. Okay, they're really chomping at the bit to get in here. They must have passed without closure, because that's what it feels like. So little things like that. But yeah, personality definitely affects how they come in. The other side, a lot of people ask me, like, what's the other side like? I'm just a human. Like I say, I'm just like the phone. Like I'm the phone. Like if you want to talk to your loved one, you pick up the phone and you call them. I'm the phone. So I use that analogy a lot. I try not to filter messages. I try to give you what they give me without any sort of my own interpretation. I try to let it just like the phone, just filter right through. So they don't always tell me what is going on the other side. I know there are jobs. I know that people have therapy sometimes, like what we would call therapy. I've seen people sitting, like people who have had they have a lot of learning to do after they've passed. They will go to certain places where they have to learn things before they're allowed to go to, level 2 or phase 2 or whatever. Nothing bad. Just when you go to the other side, there's a level of personal responsibility that has to be attained. And most of us get there, but I think you can understand like people who are abusive and they passed or something like that. They're not allowed in, I call it like Gen Pop right away. So I will feel them kind of in a therapy situation. Somebody who passed very traumatically, like a long illness, or they suffered or something really sad, or they passed before they felt it was their time, that kind of thing. I feel them sometimes in a womb like situation, like where they're just safe and they're cuddled and they're just being kept okay until they can work on themselves, until they can accept what happened. So you're very kept safe over there, and you're very protected, and you're always loved, but there's different places that you go. And they don't always show me everything. I think I read, if you ever read Sylvia Browne's books, she's a medium who passed a while ago, but she wrote a series of books, and she's very specific about the other side, like down to the temperature and what people wear and stuff like that. And I don't see any of that. Okay. So I'm just saying, I'm speaking for myself. They don't show me like what It's not like Disney World utopia over there, so there's work to do. I do get that, and I get what they tell me. I feel like there's jobs and there's learning and things of that nature. And I do see we are able to be with each other and be with people that we were with other lifetimes as well. Why? Oh, here's a big question I get. Why can't they do things when I ask them to? So like, let's say Dad died and you're like, okay, Dad, if you're here, turn on the lights. Kind of like what Scott was talking about with the physical mediumship. Like, why can't they do that? And I think what you have to understand is if you want to connect to loved ones on the other side, you got to let go of control. You got to let go of how you think they should do things. And you have to accept what is happening. And then you have to accept something called synchronicity. If something keeps happening over and over and over again, and it goes past the point of it being a coincidence, you have to accept that's your loved one. Because if you don't, imagine you're on the other side and you're trying so hard to get through to somebody and they just keep ignoring it because they don't want to be disappointed or they don't want to be foolish or they just don't want to go there because it's sad to remember you. How hard is that? Like it's very sad, so it's important to accept the signs that you get and just let it wash over you and then ask for more to come. And they will. So you have to get over control because that can affect the connection. If you have control issues over how they come through, like, well, if that was my mother, she would have said this, or if this was my mother, she would turn on the lights, or she would do something about my brother, or she would da-da-da-da-da. Let it go. Like, let them come through the way they can come through. There are rules over there. We don't quite understand all of them. You don't have the same brain. Your brain is gone. There is no brain anymore. You are a soul. So not all the stuff that you carried as a person, you have necessarily in your higher self version on the other side. So some things get let go, so you have to kind of understand that. It's not such a literal, like, it's you, but like ghost, it's not quite like that. Some spirits are stronger than others just because, like I said, a personality or whatever. And a big question I get is, does everyone who dies come through? When I sit down to a reading, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. And I'll be honest, like, with people too. Like, it depends. It really does depend. So I get this a lot. Like, my mom just died. Is this a good time? Without tapping in, I would say no, like, wait a few months, because it does take some time for loved ones on the other side to come through. Not all the time. Sometimes, like, if they were ready to go, they're right on the other side right away. Like, hey, you're good. We're okay. But if they're not quite ready because they're acclimating to the other side or all the things I talked about before, it does take them a few months, I would say. So just keep that in mind. It depends. And until I'm sitting down to a reading, I don't control the reading. They control it. I sit there and I do as I'm told. So usually they do, but it does take some time with people who've passed to acclimate and get ready to speak to you and whatnot. And then sometimes it's hard because there's these mediums, and they go up to people like, hey, do you know this or do you know that? And anytime, it depends on who you do it to, because some people don't have the ability to be excited or open to messages. The other day, I was talking to, we'll call it a mom friend. So it's somebody who's like, our kids are friends, so, we talk. And, she knows I'm a medium or whatever. We never talk about those things, all right? We just talk about other things. And it was itching at me and itching at me and itching at me. I felt her mom. And I'm like, don't do it, Megan, because she's not going to be open to it. She's not, but the mom was bugging me. So I'm like, even though and I just knew she wasn't going to accept the message, right? Like, I knew it, but mom was bothering me. So, like, what do I do? This happens to me a lot. It's probably why I avoid people, honestly, because it's like, So I'm like, okay, even though we were just talking about what our plans are for Halloween, here we go. And I'm like, do you have there's something with your mom who passed, and she's saying something about your middle name and then your daughter's middle name and then, like, her middle name. And so the mom's reaction was like, oh, yeah, well, I didn't really know my mom because she died when I was so young. So I didn't know her. I'm like, yeah, but she's coming through with something like a name. So, like, sometimes even if you don't know mom's personality because she died because you were so young, they might come through with more like family lineage thing. She's like, well, yeah, we all have the same middle name. I'm like, oh my God. Like that woman, like she just came through. How do I know? I don't know that. You know what I mean? But like, and I'm not looking for credit. It's not me. And this is where my indigo gets fired up because like that woman on the other side is trying to get to her kid. And she didn't get excited about it. She wasn't like, Mom, oh my God, thank you. Like she was just like, because she was like she probably wanted Mom to come through in a different way. And it didn't happen. And I felt really bad for the dead person because it's, you know, I don't know, maybe you can feel it with me, just kind of like a blow a little bit, like, oh, because then I feel the person on the other side's reaction because she wasn't excited. It's like, I don't know what you want her to do. I mean, she just came through like that. That happens a lot. And that's why my big thing is believe it, connect to it, say thank you, even if it's the tiniest thing. Even if you walk by the Christmas tree and an ornament falls off and it was Grandma's ornament. Hi, Grandma. You know, just believe it and then ask for more. Let Spirit lead you in this and just see what happens. Hey, Scotty.
Hey.
Does that make sense? That was kind of my spiel.
No, it definitely does. I mean, I still remember when you told me that my grandma Annie, and you didn't know her, you never met her, that she would, and I might have even mentioned this in the podcast before, would give me, every time I'd come, a brown bag, like a lunch bag. And that's, you know, we used to make fun of, like the big thing we used to make fun of her for, I hope she doesn't get mad, was for what we called Grandma Annie specials. And, you know, me and my sister would always laugh about what she would get us. And she'd always put it in a brown lunch bag. Right. So, you know, she would get us like little paper, like shoes that you like slippers that you'd wear, but they were made out of paper. Right. So they just like break as soon as you got home, you know. And then, you know, my dad must have told her that I was really into baseball cards. Yeah. So she would always then go down to like, I don't know, she lived in Brooklyn. She'd go down to like the flea market there. Yeah. And she'd buy like both baseball cards.
That's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, I never told her, but she would get like the crappiest cards. Like it was just like a stack. She'd throw them into the brown paper bag.
Oh God, like 8-year-olds, you like thank you.
Yeah, to be like 1982 common cards. And common cards were like cards you just didn't want, like because you wanted like the stars. Yeah. But she'd get like probably pay like a couple bucks, and she'd get like 100 of them. But they were like all like commoners.
But who
like,
still has them? Who still has them? Every single one of those cards, Scotty. Right, and now
have them. The roaches are in there looking at them.
Oh yeah, God.
But when you told me like she would give you that brown paper bag,
so,
I was like, how the heck would you ever know that?
Well, one day I was just like, did Grandma Annie give you like brown paper bags? And you like screamed.
Yeah.
You were like, ah!
Like, because you never met her. I never talked about her. She had passed, you know, before.
Well, a long time ago. Yeah, way before me.
Yeah, way before you. And then how would you know that? That was like, if there's one thing I could have thought about her, it would have been the Grandma Annie special.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, that would have been like the thing. And that we used to eat lobster on Thanksgiving. That was the other thing. Oh. But that's a sadder story. You know, but anyway.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for accepting the message.
Well, you know, we do have Jade here.
Yes.
She's very brave to come on. She's in the green room. She's from Canada, so to make her feel at home, we put on a old hockey game. And we left out a couple bottles of maple syrup for her, which for some reason are now empty. So I assume she's been drinking the maple syrup.
You know, Canadians and their syrup.
Yeah. So
we do love Canadians.
Yeah. So she's, you know, very brave to come on and to tell her.
But this is a bit of a trigger warning because this is a baby loss reading. So if that upsets you or you're just not in the mood today, just, you know, maybe this is the end of the podcast for you.
All right, let's bring her on.
Okay. Hey guys, I am here with Jade and I'm already feeling like a ton of energy because Jade has so lovingly decided that she would allow me to read for her. And she did suffer a significant loss, which we're going to talk about. But first, hi, Jade. How are you?
Hi, I am so honored that you are here to read me. And I'm just so honored to be on your podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
And you're from Canada. What part of Canada are you from?
Vancouver.
Oh my gosh. We love Canadian. I love Canadians. I'm like, I have a thing. I think because I used to live near Canada. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel, you know, like neighbors.
Where did you used to live?
Well, I lived near Ontario. So I lived in Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's like a very different part, but still.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I've been to Ontario. It's really nice there too.
It is. It's very... Just, I don't know, like Canada has like a vibe, like very friendly, very, you know, polite.
We always say, I'm sorry. And I'm always like, I'm sorry. My friend's like, we're coming to your birthday party. What are you sorry
You're
for?
Like, I don't know.
I know.
that's
so funny.
that's why I love you guys. Okay, so I'm going to start the reading like I always start readings because I've never read you before. So so I get my information from 3 places. You know, you've sent me pictures of your beautiful children, and I have you in front of me, and I, read auras. And when I tap into the aura, I get all this information, and it comes from loved ones on the other side, and it comes from your spirit guides. And I do talk fast, especially at the beginning. So because
I'm a fast talker too.
Oh, great. Okay, because I think spirit just it comes, and you have so much energy. So there's a lot coming through. Me too. Whew. Okay. So
I know I'm getting hot.
Yes, me too. That's like a sign. Like I get sweaty when I channel.
Yep. Okay, let's go.
All right. I'm going to start with my prayers. Angels, guardians, loved ones on the other side, please step forward for us today. Please answer the questions that we ask. Give us guidance and healing. In God's holy healing name, we ask you this. Amen. Okay. Miss Jade, I have to start with your aura. You are, I think we've talked about this. You're purple and yellow. And your purple is so deep. And it feels like it's, when I look at your yellow, it's there and it's always been there. And you gave me pictures from a while ago. And then I'm looking at you today and I see there's more purple now than there was before. And I feel like that's because I get this overall message, like you had to let stuff go in order to continue on. And some of the stuff you had to let go was like control or different things. Otherwise you wouldn't have made it. But that survivor energy is present. It just feels like it comes in and supports. You just flip-flopped, I feel. And like you just, that survivor, that yellow energy, the organization, I feel like you took life as it was and you moved forward in a new way, but very different. I have to go into your beautiful baby girl, London. And if I start crying, which is what's happening, it's because she's coming through me very strongly.
Oh.
And it's happy. It's just like a lot of emotion. So I'm looking at London and the first thing I get is I feel like I'm being brought back to her passing and she just feels very warm. And I feel like it's because she was being held. And I feel like it's because I feel like the last thing she heard were you in her ear and just giving her love. And it's very hard for me to breathe. So it's hard for me to get a breath. And I feel like you had choices to make. And you had a choice to, I don't know what happened here, but I'm getting like there was a choice. And the choice was for more suffering or the choice was for peace. And you chose peace for her. And I feel like you made the right decision. And I don't feel pain or anything. I just feel a struggle to breathe and just like a calm, peaceful, like almost like she went back into the womb in a way.
And that was her illness, was her lungs and her breathing.
She was such a fighter. So I feel like this took you by surprise.
Okay. 100%.
So the way she was born, was it like a bit of a struggle? Because it's almost like your guides are showing me like you saw this light at the end of the tunnel and then this happened. So what is that?
Like, man, I had a spiritual awakening when my water broke with her at 19 weeks. Like it just hit me out of left field. And my angels were like, the doctors were telling me, you need to terminate this pregnancy. And my angels were saying, no, you don't.
Right.
Keep her in there. And I mean, I have goosebumps up and down my arms right now because that's what I did is I listened to my angels over the doctors, and time again, she just proved to be a fighter, and she got past every medical diagnosis that they put on her. And so this really was hit out of left field.
I feel like because I get like she was fine and then she wasn't, like, and it feels like it happened quick. And it
did happen very quick.
And was there a choice that you were hit with? Because I feel like there was a choice. I don't know. Was it like you have to hook her up to more machines or something? Or
I mean, we could have just kept her like on maximum life support until like the doctors would just need to like try to resuscitate her and just like do a lot of medical intervention. Or we decided that, like she's actually just been through so much, and I would much rather her pass away in my arms. And so we peacefully took her off of life support. And I know I laid in bed with her, like you said, and just saying to her, you are my London instead of you are my sunshine. That was her song. And just sang to her and said little messages and just told her how much I knew she was a fighter. And then we, it was the right decision. I knew it was.
I feel it. I feel like she comes through to you and your husband and your family, and especially, and we got to talk about your older daughter too, because there's a lot with her. I feel like, yes, the right decision. And I get this thing with her, like she really wanted to stay with you, and she feels motherly towards you in a lot of ways, actually. And I feel but she's okay. And I know we talk about like rainbow babies or something, but she's there's rainbow wrapped around her.
After she passed away, it was pouring rain all day, and it stopped raining, and a double rainbow shone over. Like, that's
my God.
So
that's
rainbows
amazing.
are her thing.
Oh my God. Because she was showing me she was just wrapped in rain. Like there was such freedom in her passing. I feel she says like you talk to her every day. I feel like you have places in the house dedicated to her. Where you live now is where she lived, right?
No, it's not.
Okay. Because
we just moved. Okay.
Because I was going to say, all right, I should have backed up, because I got this thing like her saying it's okay because I come with you, like that kind of a thing. But
yes. Okay. So we just had to leave her bedroom, and, me and the kids, we kissed the wall that she was last laying against. Yeah. But we brought all her stuff with us, so she's here. Yeah,
and I feel like you dedicate like a section of the house to her, and it's just she's part of the family.
Do, yeah. Yeah. Oh, she is big time.
Everyone talks about her, and like I get this other thing with her, like you're very open to her messages to you. So I feel like even though she's a baby, it's interesting because she comes through with like this elevated vibration, like almost like higher spiritual being. So I feel like even though she's a baby, there's like grandpa energy around her so big right now. And like
my grandpa just passed away. Oh my God. And I have not put that on social media at all.
He's holding her. And
oh my God.
And she's just wrapped up in him. And I think I don't know when she passed. I don't know but she looks about like 2 or 3 years, like toddler sized right now. And like, even though, how long is it?
She just turned 3.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
2 days ago.
Oh, cause she's got that like toddler body, and she just wrapped around grandpa, and he's so happy. And so he wants you to know that she's saying, I'm taking care of him. It's kind of like what the vibe is. Like, I'll take care of grandpa. But he's okay. I feel like he passed, even though he was obviously, I'm sure, elderly. I do get it happened kind of quick and without like a ton of closure. So
it did, yeah.
And I know like when somebody's older, sometimes it's like, oh, you just want them to go peaceful. And it's a different kind of sadness. But he feels so happy with her. I feel like she visits you all a lot, like with dreams, and not just messages and stuff like that, but a lot of dream stuff. But I feel like she comes through very funny. Like, I feel like she tries to come through with a lot of funny messages and a lot of like silly things. And it's a lot of times when you and the kids are all together, like you guys are all together with the kids, and because I'm getting like laughter brings her around.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like she was a laugher herself. So,
yes. She was, and we find signs from her all the time, especially my kids. Like, they find signs in everything with her. It's really cute.
What would you say, like, to, I guess, because I think the number one thing I get when I'm doing a reading is a lot of people will be like, well, why can't my child connect to me? You know, what would you say is just, what's your advice? And I've given my advice, but like, what's your advice for, because you believe it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So I would find the common denominator between you and your child, and what was one thing that like represents them. And then do you often see that? And you're not crazy. When you see, I mean, just for a random example, say your child loved red balloons. If you are like driving down the street and you see someone holding a red balloon, which you probably never would, but just know like that would be a message from your child. Is when you find things in your day-to-day life that represent your child, it's always a message from the other side. It always is.
That I absolutely love that, because I feel like, so assign something to them, and that really encapsulates their memory.
And really try to say like, and try to connect with spirit. Like, if you want to receive signs from them, ask them. Say, can you please send me a sign? And I promise you'll get that sign, whether it's the song coming on, commercial on the TV, whatever it may be. It's there. They are very powerful. You just got to be open to it.
And believe it, right? Like that's a big thing.
100%.
Believe it.
Yeah. Believing it. Yes.
When I look at you, because you sent me a picture of you in London when she was just a little peanut. And she's such a happy baby, so alert,
she was so happy.
Yeah, so happy, so alert, I feel like she had a lot of independence in her too. That she
she did.
Yes. She? Yeah, like she really had this hunger, and it's just her little body just wouldn't keep up with everything she wanted to do. But
exactly.
And I feel like now I'm getting like the bigger picture message from her, because she's on the other side, and she's definitely like you're her mother, and you mother her in a different way. Not the way you wanted to, but it's definitely a different way, because I feel like there's a memory thing with her, and I feel like other babies benefit from this. So I feel like through her memory, other babies are being benefited, and I feel like this is where the yellow thing comes in with you, because I feel like you have this way of organizing yourself and her memory to help other children. What does that mean? Because I get that's what she does, like for that she motivates
I get
you.
This message from other people a lot, that our story has just impacted their life in so many ways, and that they don't take the day-to-day things for granted. I don't personally see how other people view me, but I get a lot of these messages that like London has changed their life.
Oh my gosh. Maybe just because you're not shy to share the pain that you've gone through. You're just very out there about it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's helped with you with your healing. I think like, we just saw Chrissy Teigen go through something unspeakable. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it was hard to watch how people, commented on how, and how when she chose to share her loss.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Fresh in my grief, I was also shamed on social media, like horrible things that I won't even speak on your podcast. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't believe it. It's just not okay. So I feel also the need to get out there and be like, this is okay. We are allowed to share our feelings and our loss and remember our babies. And so I hope other people that go through this don't feel like they need to be quiet about it and suffer in pain alone.
It's, I also notice this too in mediumship. Like sometimes the ego feelings like shame or guilt, like they can actually block spirit from visiting you or connecting. Like if you feel bad about something or shameful or just like that, actually talking about it openly can let them come to you more easily, because it facilitates that connection. So I absolutely feel that. Okay. So, I mean, she's a cheerful little baby. And I get something even bigger than, the story is huge. The impact's huge, but I also get something with, I feel like, okay, I realized, you went into a little bit like she was born premature and, she was fighting. And at the end, something, took her. I feel like there's still needed attention for this, like what you went through. And I feel like she brings awareness to that as well. So I do get something with her and her memory and like the bigger, like sometimes spirit will give me the bigger picture thing, like where I don't know what this is yet, but I really feel London influencing something with healthcare, something with how mothers and children that went through what you guys went through are treated in the future. So it just means, I don't know so I feel like this could be something that they learned from her experience medically or whatever. I feel like there's attention being brought to it through that. Okay, I have to look at your other kids because she's talking about Ayla, right? Who's your...
Yes.
Okay. So when I look at, and it's okay to say her name, is that okay?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So she's a little yellow blue girl. Now she's like, what, 8? How old is she? 8, 9?
She'll be 9 in January.
Okay. She's a little yellow blue. Like, I feel like she's a little mommy. I feel like I can't imagine like when something like this happens in a family, I feel like you dealt with it, the way as it comes to you, like, all right, and nobody has to be anything today. And I feel like that's especially helpful for Ayla, because I feel like she's got this thing like where she wants to be strong. And I get that she felt like she lost her baby too.
She did. It was a whole nother level of me grieving, like watching her grieve. I mean, she was grieving like she lost her baby too. And she turned into a different person. And I'm like, I was dealing with like, like almost like a problem child. Like I didn't know how to manage her or handle her. And she was just all over the place. And Leo came in and healed her. And she's just
that's your
back
baby,
to that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I'm just like so excited to learn about her aura now too, because she's just totally become this like amazing little girl. And I mean, her teachers are even just like blown away at how like what a beautiful little person she is.
She's
and I
very
think that
mature.
This loss, she is very mature. And I think that this loss has really just shaped her into who she is for the future.
I mean, yeah, she's an old soul, but she's also like, and I think like when, however 3 years ago, dealing with all the emotions and what they were, like she wasn't like developmentally caught up to her emotional intelligence or her spiritual intelligence yet. And now it's starting to kind of, it's sped up that process, obviously. And now it's trying to like, they can kind of balance out. But I feel like with her, that's what you get. Like, she's like a 40-year-old woman, in this little 9-year-old, almost 9-year-old body.
She's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go make my lunch now.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
That's so yellow though, too. Like yellow kids are so like, I'm going to cook because, I'll do it better than you anyways. So like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She made pancakes on Sunday morning. Like
that's great. And she's just little mommy. And I feel like, London comes through to her all the time. Like, I feel like she comes through to her a lot. And I get like, I feel like she talks to London and I get some like remembrances of London or little keepsakes. She feels like a memory keeper. Ayla does. So I get her like really important that she keeps the memories because I'm getting something like between them. That's how they keep their sister bond going. So
aww, I love that.
Like little memories, stuff like that. And then your middle guy is Cash, right?
Cashton, yeah, and he is super
so
like
sweet.
London's every part of his day. Like he's like, Mommy, that's a sign from London. Like he doesn't forget about her, and it's been like almost 2 years now.
He's his blue like throws me over. That's how strong he is. So strong. Such a little empath.
He is. He's very spiritual. He's got a lot of emotions. Sometimes he doesn't know how to deal with them. And so, yeah, I'm just very curious about him as well.
So he's very blue, like, and I feel like,
so he's just one color?
Well, cause he's a kid, sometimes, and I have to look at your husband. I don't think you sent me a picture of your husband, but I think he absorbs a little bit of your husband too, but
I think so.
But he definitely, he's a baby. He's like mama's boy for sure. Like, I feel like he's extremely, and that's why his emotions can be all over the place. Cause I feel like he gets so much stuff, he doesn't know what to do with it. So
he does 100%. And so I don't even know how to deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just working on it, like with articulation of like, after he has his little moments, you're like, how do you feel now? What is it? And, kind of going through it. But I get with him, he's like me. I feel like he channels emotion. So I feel like that's how, when I connect to somebody on the other side, like when I connect to London, like I get a lot of emotion. That's where it starts. Yeah. And I feel like he does that too. So sometimes I feel like he can like start acting out emotions and they're not even his. And so that could be something you might, I'm sure as a mother, you're into this stuff. So you're already doing it. Like you might want to take a cue on like, who is he being right now? Because that feels like a thing for also. There's something with him in London and sleeping. So what is that? Did they share a room? Did they sleep together? What is that?
No, they didn't. But every night after she passed away, he would see her above him.
Oh my God. Oh.
He would be falling asleep and he would say, Mom, London's smiling down on me right now. She's right there. And he'd point at her. And it was like every time we were falling asleep, he would see her.
Wow. Well, I feel like she was sleeping with him to comfort him and to keep him comforted.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. All right. It was almost felt like they shared a room. That's how close. That's how much
they were pretty close. Yeah.
And then little Leo, he's your baby you have now. So
he's my little baby.
Oh, he's your little he healed everybody. He's your little healing.
He did, and gift. He was actually born exactly. He ended up being a little bit early, and he ended up being born 40 weeks exactly after London passed away. So, like,
my God,
both of them on a Friday, and it was 40 weeks. I mean, it's
40
just
weeks,
crazy.
The length of a pregnancy. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
Wow. It's like I get with him. I feel like with him. He's just all right. He's totally a gift from above. Like he's obviously his own person. That's for sure. Like I see I see that. But he feels to me like he's extremely, and he met her. Like they had contact. This is like a big thing I get. And I get the letter M. I have no idea what that is. I get the letter M. And I get this thing where they contact each other. And she sent him off. And I get...
Well, his name was actually supposed to be Maximilian.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah, his name was Max until we ended up naming him Leo to match London's middle name.
Oh, are you one of those, like, when you see them, they get a different name or something?
No. But, like, I didn't think, I thought I was having a girl.
Yes.
And, when it was a boy, I was like, oh, crap. Oh. I'm like, if it's a boy, it's going to be Max. But didn't really think it was a boy.
That's so funny. Well, I feel like that's her little, like, hat tip to that.
Yep.
And that's cute. And I feel like she sent him to, they met and they shared energy. And I feel like I get him putting his hand on your heart or his hand on your throat or his hand. Like, I feel like he's got a healing hand situation thing going on and he knows when to touch mommy. And I feel like you needed that touch. And I feel like he's a little bit of a clinger, which is, I feel like you kind of needed that.
Yes.
He feels, and now you're yellow, and I love yellow moms, because yellow moms, even if you don't think you're doing it, like, you have a way better schedule than most people. Like, trust me, I'm pretty sure you do. But, like, I feel like he's the one that broke you. Like, I get he's the one.
Thank you. He totally did. Yeah. He totally did.
Like, he's the one that broke that. Because I feel like he's so sweet. Like, you just give him what you want. Like, all right, you want to just...
100%.
I'll hold you instead of put you down. Like that kind of... Like,
he wakes up, I'm like, okay, you can
come sleep with us. It's fine. Yeah. Like, he's just whatever. Whereas, like, in the old days, it was like, all right, Ayla, you can sleep in your bed. You're good. Like, not little Leo got it completely different. I get with him. It was that healing baby. But let's talk about another baby, because I am getting I'm getting a girl vibe, like, really strong coming through.
Oh my goodness.
And it feels like, obviously babies are up to you. It's free will and your choice and all that. But
yeah,
man, because I see you kind of like needing to get all new stuff. We really want
one more. So
I feel, and it feels so imminent. I want to say that, like, you feel like you feel like you could be pregnant, like, now or very soon. So
I mean, I've been sick for the last 4 days, and I said to Cody, I need to go get a test. So I'm going to go get that test, and I will DM you and let you know.
Yeah, please let me know. Because, like, I get this thing, like, it's very imminent. Like, she's on top of you. And she feels like a really strong, energied kid, which is good. But it's funny, because sometimes I'll see things, like, because all of London stuff, did you, like, gift that? Like, the stuff that wasn't...
Not all of it. I have about half of it.
Because I'm seeing you needing new... Like, be like, oh, my gosh, I need new stuff. Like, things you didn't think you'd need again. You're like, all right, I'm going to rebuy it. But, like, that wonderful inconvenient feeling. Like, oh, I got to get that again. Like, that. And so I really feel that happening for you guys. We have to talk about the sweatshirt you're wearing. Can you please tell that story?
Oh my gosh. So for everyone, I mean, I know there's, I'm in your Mystic Michaela family spiritual group on Facebook, and I shared my story about the number 17 with London. Everything to do with her was the number 17.
Okay.
And so I was, talking to my husband last night about how I'm going to be, doing this reading with you today. And, I'm going to be talking to London, and I'm so excited. And I picked up my phone, and it was 717, and, her face is on my screen, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's 7:17 and I'm talking to London tomorrow. Oh. And then literally the doorbell rang. I mean, it's 7:00 at night. And we're like, who is that? And it was this London sweatshirt in purple.
Oh my gosh.
Getting delivered. And Cody's like, oh, it's a blanket or something. I'm like, a blanket. And I opened it up, and it was like London. And I was just like,
it's a sweatshirt that said London. That's crazy.
I mean, all at the same time. Yes. It was just wild.
And that's her being like, hey, mommy.
It's me. Like, this package is getting delivered at 7:30 at night, pretty much.
Weird. Oh, my gosh.
But it's like, that's how spirit works. Mm-hmm. They work in mysterious ways.
Yeah, like, you can't you could never even imagine it, so just let them do what they do. Exactly. That kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Jade, where can we find you to hear more about your story and everything else?
So you can find me. My Instagram is at Jade Brittany Blog. And then I also have a website, www.17letters, and that's spelled out the word 17. And you can go on there and find my story about my spiritual awakening, also my pregnancy with London, my pregnancy with Leo, and all of my stories on there.
Thank you so much, Jade, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, guys. Hey, Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family. Thanks so much for checking this out and hanging out with us today and listening to this awesome story. I appreciate you. You all take care.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.